On this episode, we've got Star Wars Part 2. Special shout out to Tom and happy birthday. Daddy loves you. May the Force be with you. Welcome to Part 2 of Star Wars. This is Have a Drink with Me. I'm Dylan Polniak, and with me is Tom Flynn.
Hello, I'm Tom Flynn.
The same Tom Flynn from Part 1.
Only slightly older.
Yes. So today we are discussing Part 2 of Star Wars, which is Episode 4, 5, and 6. Tom was in charge of picking the alcohol for this episode. And
Indeed.
Tell us what you picked.
I picked Picklebacks. Picklebacks.
Picklebacks.
Sorry, I learned how to speak yesterday. Anyway.
So we are doing shots of Picklebacks, which are Irish whiskey.
Irish whiskey followed by pickle juice. A shot of
pickle juice. Pickle juice. Yeah. Like a striped pickle's
no,
just going to show
disappeared.
up.
Hey, what's going on? Hey. What is that? That's Charlize Theron doing. Charlize Theron from Monster.
Doing Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice?
Yeah, that's her performance. She won an Oscar doing an imitation of Beetlejuice. She's hey, what's going on? Anyway, so yeah, picklebacks. Every time I want to do a pickleback, I can usually get about 10 people on board with me. Everybody wants to rally to do a pickleback. It's usually like at a wedding or at a New Year's party or something like that. It's just like, let's do picklebacks. Everybody's like, yes! I don't know why. I think it's probably because I guess the pickle juice kind of takes the edge off of the shot, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be the whole thing.
People love pickles.
Yeah.
But
I love pickles and I love whiskey, but the thought of mixing the two just makes me feel weird. Even though I like the shot, and I absolutely will do it anytime anybody asks me to.
That's great, see?
No problem.
Okay, so here's the thing. Pickle juice is typically green, and therefore I think that a pickleback is probably what Yoda tastes like. If
Just
you were to drink him,
his bumpy skin.
or drink him. Drink his
Bumpy skin.
urine.
His bumpy skin.
Okay.
His urine. Either or.
Okay. Yeah. Possibly.
Well fermented.
Anyway, it's tasty, kind of salty, you know.
Just like
It's
Yoda's.
good. Just like Yoda's personality.
He's very salty.
He's very salty.
I love how much he was like a crazy person when he first met Luke.
Yeah, he's like a hermit.
But then he was like, just kidding. Kidding, I am. Kidding, just.
And he's like...
Is that Al Pacino?
Hey
there, Almond boy. Hey there, Luke. Wait for you.
But he kind of like deflates for a second. He's like, always with you, it cannot be done. Or something like that. And then Luke's like, Yoda. You're Yoda? And he just like turns around and he goes, he just like growls at him.
He moans and he lifts up the bottom of his dress just to show Luke what's going on. Puts it right back down.
I had no idea that you were Yoda.
Yes. I am.
I see that you are. Okay.
Pick this up with your mind.
Master, picking up genitalia is one thing, but this is totally different. No different. Only different in your mind.
Pick yours up, I will. You do me, I'll do you. So, part 2. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about our both of our top 10 things from the original trilogy.
I feel like every time I give you like an affirmation, I have to go,
hurts every time. Every time it hurts.
Hurts every time it does.
So I accidentally peeked at Tom's his to-do list, his top 10 list for episode.
Is that what we're calling it? My to-do list? That's not what you called it last night. Anyway.
Yeah, we're definitely going to cut that out, Tom.
So stupid.
So I saw his note earlier, and I feel like we have a lot of the same things, which we absolutely should, because if we both had completely different top 10 moments, that'd be fairly dumb.
Yep.
So I'm going to start out. This is actually we're gonna take a shot real quick.
Yes.
We're gonna have our producer Sammy join us with this.
Not a finger. I had one of those black things from the pickle juice. Swallowed it.
How do you feel?
Pretty good.
This is
pretty good. It was good.
It's weird to be sober on this podcast. All right, so
I
top
feel like
10. We're gonna do 10 through 6, and then we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna get back to the alcohol, have a couple stories about the picklebacks, and bring it back in. So my number 10. This is seeing Star Wars for the first time, like the trilogies, basically what these are to me.
Right.
Top 10 would be the character of Chewbacca.
Just the character of Chewbacca.
Just the character of Chewbacca.
Okay.
I'm a huge dog person.
Does he remind you of a dog?
Yeah, and he is a dog person, literally.
Yeah.
And I think he's like he's man's best friend, and he's Han Solo's best friend, and he's funny without actually saying anything, and he's smart. And
I've always liked, because Chewbacca is played by Peter Mayhew, and I'm not sure if Peter Mayhew does his voice or if that's just Ben Burt, the sound designer, just having fun with grizzly bears or something. But I've always really loved his like gangly appearance, because he's like he kind of walks in a very awkward gangly way, doesn't he?
Yeah, his arms are like it's like he forces his hands as close to the ground as possible while also trying to stand straight.
Peter Mayhew.
But the Chewbacca noises are actually lions and bears all mixed together.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like every part of it.
I think Peter Mayhew, like on set, actually makes those noises.
Probably.
Yeah. And I think he's actually like really good, to a point where they don't even need to do the lions and tigers and bears noises. They just have Peter Mayhew come in and do the noises.
Yeah. I'm sure that like R2-D2's walking around.
It's just Kenny Baker.
Kenny Baker's just like, beep bloop. Beep bloop bloop.
Bleep bloop. Don't forget about me. It's lunchtime, I know, but I'm still stuck in this can.
And he's just shaking his body left and right.
Yeah.
Beep bloop, beep bloop.
Chewbacca.
Nothing in particular about him. Not like a certain moment. I just loved the Chewbacca character.
You don't have like a favorite Chewbacca moment or anything like that?
Okay, probably my favorite moment, Chewbacca, is Empire Strikes Back after 3PO gets blown up and he just starts picking up the pieces and put it to him in his backpack.
I know, he's such a sweetie.
Yeah, he doesn't get anything out of any of this.
Yeah, and then it's thankless too, because he puts them together backwards. I mean, what do you expect? He's a Wookiee. Mm-hmm. Relax. He's not. I mean, he'll fix the Millennium Falcon, but like, I'm sure that he's not. He's not well versed in putting together droids.
Yeah.
But like 3PO like bitches at him about putting him on backwards, and it's like, give him a break. He's a freaking Wookiee.
Yeah, it's like
be thankful he doesn't smash you.
Yeah, and it's like when your family member asks you to fix their computer and really just need to be plugged in, but then it turns on, but then there's something actually wrong with it, and then they feel weird that you don't know how to fix the actual problem with their computer.
I know. And you're like, you don't realize that I just performed a miracle by fixing your computer, but it,
Yeah, insert Chewbacca noise.
Yeah.
What is your top 10?
I'm glad that you brought that up, because my...
Was I not going to bring it up ever?
No, I'm sorry. I'm glad glad that you brought Chewbacca up.
Okay. I'm glad that you brought up my top 10, because I was going to forget it.
So,
Tom Flynn.
I'm glad... So awkward. So my favorite, number 10 on my list is Laugh It Up Fuzzball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's a scene in Empire Strikes Back, towards the beginning, where Han Solo is kind of flirting with Princess Leia. He says something along the lines of, I just think you can't bear to let a gorgeous guy like me out of your sight. And she looks at him and just kind of perturbed, and she's like, I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain. And then you hear Chewbacca go, and then Han Solo just like looks at him and goes, laugh it up, fuzzball. Love that moment. Because if you've ever imagined what a Wookiee sounds like whenever he starts laughing, that's what he sounds like.
Like an actual thing laughing.
That's what he sounds like. He does that weird, I don't know what like this little like hill of a vocal thing flourish.
That's like Jeff Goldblum's laugh from was it Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park, yeah. Well, he's talking about digging up. He's like, "So you guys dig up dinosaurs?" And they're like, "Yeah." And he's like,
Laugh it
I
up.
think he's trying to laugh and roar at the same time, like a dinosaur.
So that Chewbacca is also your top 10?
Laugh It Up Fuzzball.
Laugh It Up Fuzzball is your top 10?
Yeah, that's my number 10, yeah.
What is your number 9?
Okay, my number 9 is the death of Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, which is basically the inciting incident for Luke in a weird way, you know? Because he comes home and he sees, it's really brutal. He sees their like burnt corpses just laying out in the middle of Tatooine.
Yeah.
You know, there's smoke everywhere. Their whole home is just destroyed. And you see these like grisly burnt black corpses that are just, you know, he sees all of that and it's got to really mess you up. You know?
He took it a lot more well than I would.
A lot better than you would, yeah.
Yeah, a lot more well.
A lot more weller than anybody would.
The moster of wellness than I would have.
That moment, the weird, like, his hair, Luke's hair looks pretty interesting.
Oh,
yeah, and that point, because the wind is, like, blowing it, and it's, like, exposing this strange, like, cowlick/part where, Steve, shut up.
We'll have a picture of that on the podcast inserted.
Yeah, and so he's just staring at it and kind of going through this whole range of emotions, just, you know, and at that moment he decides that he's gonna just leave everything behind. There's nothing on Tatooine for him, and he's gonna go and save the galaxy.
Yeah, screw the harvest.
It's a good thing. Yeah, it's a good thing that the Empire made it easy for him.
Yeah, I think it was.
Steve, no. Steve, sorry, my dog is going crazy.
It's good because Luke didn't have to come up with an excuse for why he didn't want to work the harvest. He was like coming of age and wanted to just drink his blue milk in peace.
I know. And then, you know, life gives you lemons. You make lemonade.
Yeah. When the life gives you galaxy, your family's murdered.
Yeah.
Have you seen the fake like action figures for them? It's like
burnt corpses,
2 burnt skeletons just in like a little action figure case.
Are they embracing one another?
Yeah, it's just like Uncle O and Aunt Beru.
Nice.
My number 9 moment is the Battle of Hoth.
Battle of Hoth.
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back.
Yes. I absolutely loved that so much. When I first started watching Star Wars, it was late 90s.
Yeah.
It was right after the re-release for the VHS, the special editions. And around that time, the Star Wars game Shadows of the Empire came out on Nintendo 64. And the first level in that was the Battle of Hoth.
Right.
And I absolutely loved being able to fly the ships and take out the AT-ATs.
Yeah. We'll talk about, like, I mean, people had been watching and obsessing over the original Star Wars A New Hope for, you know, what was it, 3 years or something like that? And
3 or 4.
3 years, I think. And so in 1980, Empire Strikes Back comes out, and we open up and it's set on this ice planet, and you're seeing a battle that you've never seen before. We haven't seen any. We have yet to see any land battles at this point in Star Wars, and so this is the first one. And it's in the middle of this icy frontier with these giant walking like robots that are just decimating the rebellion. And you're also getting the sense that the rebellion is not doing so well. If their secret hideout is in this horrible, awful place.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's pretty easy for the Empire to just swoop in there and start ransacking the place. So.
Yeah, and right after the death of Obi-Wan, they were like immediately hit with a huge blow of losing the Battle of Hoth.
They lose the Battle of Hoth. I mean, we start off, we see Luke get bitch slapped by a abominable snowman. Steve, relax. Sorry.
Oh yeah, the Wampa.
The Wampa, yeah. For some reason I always called it the abominable snowman. I think my mom. I'm like, what's that, Mom? And she's like, that's the abominable snowman.
I always had a fun fact about Star Wars with me is that I own all of the Kenner action figures from episode 4, 5, and 6.
Yep.
And as well as 3. And I actually had a Wampa that had a detachable arm, and he came with Luke, who's like the part of his face mask kind of hung down, and that part on his action figure actually you could hang upside down. So like you could move that part of it so that it was either pointing up in the air, upside down, or down like a normal person. And he had the scars and stuff on his face.
Have you seen because originally the rebellion hideout was going to be plagued with frequent random attacks by Wampas. Have you seen any of the footage that was discarded?
No,
they took that.
I didn't see that.
They took that whole subplot out, and boy, be glad they did, because it looks pretty damn cheesy. There's a reason why they originally barely showed the Wampa at all. They didn't show they barely showed him. Like, it was very sort of abstract, and they just kind of implied that he was there and coming towards Luke and everything, because the technology was not developed at all to have somebody like look realistic in a suit, because they basically just had these giant puppet hands coming through holes in the walls and grabbing people.
Oh yeah.
It was pretty laughable. Yeah.
Another part from the Shadows of the Empire game is how difficult it was to beat the Wampas, because they were walking all around the level in the first like couple. But
should we move on?
Yeah, did we already talk about your number 9?
Yeah, we talked about Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru.
Okay. Yeah, so in Luke battling things, my number 8 is Luke versus the Rancor in Jabba's palace from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. I love that. I had a giant Rancor. Yeah.
So did I. Did you have the one that had Luke was in the pack as well, and he came with like a bone? The bone that you shove in the Rancor's mouth?
I don't think so. I got mine from like a KB Toys like outlet mall place. So it was like secondhand or something. I don't know. Yeah.
I love I love it because Luke's so confident in defeating Jabba the Hutt.
Right.
And then just a little trap door opens, and he kind of is like shuffling to grab or to stop somebody from shooting him, and then he still falls in. So it shows that he's still flawed, even though he's like this cocky Jedi, even though he should be cocky. And the Gamorrean guard falls in with him and immediately just gets eaten.
The piggy guy.
Yeah, the piggy guy.
Okay, so when I first started like memorizing Return of the Jedi, I had it taped off of TV where it was edited for time. And they never had the little scene where the owner of the Rancor comes in and like mourns him after the
so sad.
Yeah, it's so he comes in and he just like looks upon the corpse of his poor Rancor, his dead Rancor, and he's like and there's like another alien thing that comes in with him and starts like commiserating with him.
Yeah.
He's like Melo. It was so sad. I remember seeing it like once I got him on DVD. I was like, I don't remember this scene, but
and the thing that really bothered me with it was the noise the Rancor made when the door fell on his head. And it was like a dog.
Oh yeah, and he goes, yeah. He does that little whimper.
Oh, it was terrible.
I know, because then all of a sudden you feel sorry for him.
Yeah, but I love that. So Luke falls into the Rancor pit, but then basically uses the Force to throw a skull to hit the door.
Yep.
And so he like redeems himself, and of course he gets picked up and he puts the bone in the Rancor's mouth to kind of slow things down, but ultimately beats him by throwing a skull like perfectly aimed at the door.
Yeah, he had a plan. So I mean,
he had a plan after he fell into the pit.
Yes.
Your number 8.
My number 8 is the Jawas transport and Gonk. Do you know who that is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So in episode 4, A New Hope, they 3PO and R2D2 get picked up by Jawas, and they get thrown in this giant transport filled with other like scrap metal and like droids that have been scavenged and found, and they're basically going to try and sell these droids. So they're basically like the ultimate. They're basically Pawn Stars. Like they have like these these like there's so many different varieties of droids. And it was supposed to kind of be like an eye-opening scene, I guess, and it was like, oh wow, there's this world where there's just like all these rogue droids, like, like moving around and making noises and stuff like that. And my favorite one is this giant thing that looks like a trash can with feet. Yeah, and Dylan has just drawn a pretty much impeccable picture of it, and he just makes a sound that sounds like gonk. He's like gonk, gonk.
And this is this wasn't when the Empire ended up picking up a droid that looked exactly like him, and they were burning the bottom of his feet.
That's in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
He's like, but he sounds completely different in that. Like that thing sounds, it's like no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks the exact same though.
Yeah,
similar droids.
But in A New Hope, he just says gonk. Yeah,
Gonk,
gonk, gonk, gonk. That's and he's just kind of marching around with his little feet. It's great.
My number 7 is actually the droids, C-3PO and R2-D2 to be exact.
Yeah,
they have like the perfect bromance. They act like they've been living together for like 15 years, and they like love each other, but they can't stand being around each other.
They're an old married couple.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's an easier way to describe what I just said.
I'm here for you.
But I absolutely love them. Like they're just.
Are you familiar with Akira Kurosawa?
No.
He's a filmmaker, Japanese filmmaker, and he's very influential on George Lucas. And there's a film called The Hidden Fortress, where it's basically the exact same plot as the first Star Wars movie, where these two, like the two like lowliest characters, are like these two like I guess escaped slaves, or I guess they run away, and I think that they might even be like deserters or something. I can't really remember.
They're not robots.
They're not robots. No, no. This is a film called The Hidden Fortress, directed by Akira Kurosawa, and like they run into like this rogue samurai who's on a mission to go and rescue a princess, and so they kind of wind up witnessing these extraordinary events. So it's like these extraordinary events are just seen through the eyes of like the two like lowliest characters.
Yeah, and
so that's kind of what influenced, I guess, the framework for George Lucas's story.
Yeah,
in the original one.
It's ridiculous how important these two are to the story as well. Yeah. For the most part, they're the only two characters that are in all the films, if you don't count Palpatine and the Emperor kind of as the same character.
Yeah.
Also, Anakin and Vader, but the droids are like the most consistent thing in all the movies.
Yeah, they're in all of them. 3PO is kind of like, he's the guy who points out the odds, and he points out that they're in incredible danger and does nothing but like instill fear in people and doubt constantly, and just reminds people that they're in a lot of danger. He's just a total drag, whereas R2-D2 couldn't be more opposite him, and it's just crazy. They just get along.
Yeah.
He just R2-D2 solving problems, and 3PO is just creating problems, it seems.
And
they're just the opposite.
Never wants to hear the odds.
Oh, never tell me the odds. That's my great like Grover / Han Solo.
Grover. Hello, Chewbacca.
Far. Yeah. Yoda also. Okay.
Your number 7.
My number 7 is Yoda's death. A great moment in Return of the Jedi. And he has got the cutest feet. It's like the first time that I see his feet, that you see his feet. Because
there's 3-toed.
There's a part where he's like kind of, he's talking to Luke, and he kind of gets exasperated, and he's like, "Rest I need right now. Yes, rest." And he like kind of curls up in his little Yoda bed with his little Yoda feet sticking out. And it's like, oh gosh, he's just a little guy. It's great. And then he struggles. He has to tell Luke that he's not the last hope, that he shouldn't put so much burden on himself because there's another Skywalker. Which is funny because they make it so that Yoda has the hardest time getting those words out. When a scene later, Ben Kenobi just shows up. It's like, oh, what he meant to say was that there's another Skywalker.
He goes, oh yes,
yeah, he was right. But he has the hardest time getting those words out, and it's almost just heartbreaking, just because you know that he's on his way out, and he dies a valiant Jedi's death, where his body just kind of fades away. So I don't know. It's beautiful. I think I'll talk more about Yoda later.
But it took him way too long to say that.
Yeah, he's
like he was totally is. Like he should have said it when Luke first meets up with him in that scene. He's totally fine. Like Yoda's just like, I'm getting old. There's another Skywalker. It's Leia. I'm gonna go die. Leave me alone. He could have gotten it out so much quicker.
It out quicker. You're right.
What was your number 6?
My number 6 is in the Mos Eisley Cantina scene. There's the weird alien who doesn't like Luke.
Oh, pig nose.
No, I called him Ballface. I've always called him Ballface.
Ballface. That's the bug-looking guy, or the
guy. The guy who pushes him around, and he goes, he doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
That's
I got
very
the death
Watto.
Yeah, I'll get to Watto. But we got to Watto last time. So anyway, yeah. So like whenever I see that character, I just think of a scrotum. And if I ever and the way he speaks is exactly the way I think a scrotum would speak if a scrotum could talk. So like if a scrotum could talk, it would have this like weird sort of like, and that's what he sounds like.
Like he sounds like he's been stuck to your leg all day.
and it's like, yeah. So that's what balls sound like.
That's exactly what balls sound like.
Yeah. If they were anthropomorphized balls, you'd be like, "Hey, what's up, balls?"
He says you was stuck to your legs all day, and he was stuck to mine too.
Yeah.
And then Obi-Wan cuts his arm off.
Right. Well, does he cut his arm off, or does he cut?
He
off
cuts the ball
of
the testicle face.
Oh, okay. Because I couldn't tell because there's two guys that they're having.
Yeah,
trouble
testicle
with.
face has like an orange Michael Jackson jacket on.
Oh, that's
And
right.
he's like super fuzzy.
Yeah. It's weird because the wound was not cauterized with that attack.
And what's even more weird is that Obi-Wan is a Jedi, and that's not what Jedi do. They don't just cut people's arms off.
No, they do. They do that a lot. They do that in in Attack of the Clones, there's a part where Obi-Wan cuts off some bounty hunter's arms. Remember? In a bar.
Yeah.
Beginning of it.
Yeah.
So he goes around and cuts off his share of arms.
Only in bars.
Only in bars, because he was like, I have to have a drink. And so I think he gets a little tipsy and starts cutting people's arms off. Maybe.
I have to have a drink.
Oh, I have to have a drink. A drinky poo.
Episode 1
mm-hmm.
Of Have a Drink With Me, not Star Wars. My number 6.
Yes.
Speeder bikes.
Oh, yes.
I thought this was the coolest scene. The first Star Wars movie I ever saw was Return of the Jedi.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, Mom, for letting me see them out of order. But that was the first one I ever saw. And the first thing I ever remember from Star Wars is the Endor scene with Luke and Leia versus the speed troopers.
Yeah, no, yeah. The guys, yeah, Luke and Leia kind of have to team up to take on this legion of stormtroopers on speeder bikes on the Endor moon, or the moon of Endor, and they race through these basically the redwood forest, and it's freaking exhilarating because the sound design, the fact that there's no music in that scene, I don't think there is,
just the
that freaking sound design by Ben Burtt is incredible.
And I love when there's a part where Han attacks one of the troopers and he like flips him over and it makes like a squeak noise when he lands. And then when Luke and Leia are chasing one and Luke cuts the front off of the speeder bike and the trooper jumps off, he hits the tree and it makes another squeak noise like somebody stepped on a dog toy.
That where that trooper gets like smashes into the tree, that's great stunt work. I mean, I don't know if that's like a dummy or something, but it
didn't look like one.
Yeah, I don't think it was, but it's pretty painful looking.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes from any of the Star Wars movies because I'm from northern New York where there's like a lot of forests and stuff, and I camped a lot growing up. So I always imagined being on a speeder bike while camping.
So cool.
And I always thought the set design was so cool because I had never known about the redwood forest living on, the complete opposite side of the US. Yeah. So I was like, oh, these trees are amazing. And
the cool thing was that what they did was I know that for background plates, they took a Steadicam and took a little stroll through the redwoods to shoot the background plates. So they just walked around and they would go like, they would have the camera go through little like cracks in the trees and it was it's incredible. Like I think that the photography there is really great. They undercranked it so that whenever it was played back at 24 frames per second, it appeared to be going incredibly fast. And
I had speeder bike action figures and there was a button on the back. So while you're like riding with them, you hit the button on the back and then it breaks into 3 pieces. And the way that it broke was it detached under the seat and it flipped it forward. So like the character would fly off with it holding onto the handlebars. And I thought those were so cool. I used to run around my house all the time with those and just crash them everywhere.
I love the scene where Luke basically jumps off of his bike and then he just kind of gets up and then like ignites his lightsaber and you're like, oh hell yeah. And then he like deflects all those laser blasts and then cuts the head off of one.
Yeah, he just cuts it right at the poles and then that's the scene where the bike spins and then blows up.
Okay. So we can just go ahead and go into my number 6, which is let's see, I have it here. Vader and Luke's final fight.
Final fight in Return?
In Return of the Jedi, yeah. And I've always thought that it's a strange fight because we have all this pent-up aggression towards Vader because to us, he's the guy who cut off Luke's hand. There's all this conflict that they need to resolve. And you want to see them fight. You want to see Luke win. But if he fights, he's going to turn more towards the dark side. So you don't want to see him fight, but yet you kind of do as sort of like a fulfillment type of thing. Steve, shut up. So, and there's that really cathartic moment where Luke is hiding and Vader is trying to like taunt him, getting him to like show himself, and he's like reading his mind, he's reading his thoughts, and he's like, if you're not going to turn to the dark side, then perhaps your sister will. And then that sets Luke off and he goes, no! And he just goes apeshit, starts fighting, like just going to town on Vader. And the music kicks in there and it's like this really cathartic, like, men's chorus of like, woo! And it's really great. Just really powerful stuff. And then Luke finally gets Vader down and at that point he's basically beaten Vader. He has him down. He starts going to town on his hand, chops off his hand. And
then finally realizes that him and Vader both have their hands missing.
Well, yeah. Well, he looks at his own hand, his own mechanical hand, and realizes like I'm no better than Vader right now.
Yeah, he's mostly machine, or he's going to be mostly machine. Like
right,
Vader,
right. He's like turning. It's just a reminder he's turning toward the dark side. He's giving into his hatred, which is what the Emperor wants. That's part of his final plan. He wants somebody to replace Vader. That's apparently that's the Sith way. Is like. There's always a master and an apprentice, and the master eventually turn someone against the apprentice. And I guess it's up to the, whether or not the apprentice is any good to determine whether or not they get to stay the apprentice or become the master. So, yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, I love it. And another thing too is you want Luke to fight him, but it's also his dad.
Yeah, it's also his dad. And I think as an audience, we're starting to warm up to the idea of Vader could possibly be good deep down.
Yeah.
And
then he is.
He says, "It's too late for me, son." He's earlier in the film. He says, like, there's good in you. I can feel the conflict in you. And he says, "It's too late for me." And that's kind of heartbreaking a little bit, But yeah.
There's a comic book out. I can't think of the name of it, but it's kind of a what if. And this one is what if. It's what if for Return of the Jedi, and it shows Vader surviving the whole thing, the entire movie, and then at the end, they're all meeting up, and Vader walks in the room, and he's wearing the exact same suit but all white, and all I could think of was Hello Kitty. Have you seen the Vader Hello Kitty suit? Somebody wore it for cosplay. Yeah, it's like
Comic-Con,
white and pink.
I've seen it firsthand.
That's all that I could think of. But like clearly what the person's trying to portray is that he's white, he's wearing the white because he's the, he's good.
Yeah, he's the light side of the Force.
And then that was the end of the comic book. Like he just walked in completely white. It was so funny. Star Wars Infinities is the comic book. They did a 3-part series. They did one for A New Hope, one for Empire, and one for Return. And each one, they do a different set where it's what if Yoda dies before Luke gets to him the second time? What if Leia was the chosen one instead of Luke? And then what if they didn't blow up the Death Star?
In the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
or the fourth one, whatever.
So in 4, that's how it starts out, like that last scene, but it doesn't do anything. It's pretty great. All right, well let's move on. Number 5, what did you have?
Number 5, I have the final space battle on the second Death Star in Return of the Jedi. That is one of the most amazing technical feats to me, just because nowadays we're so used to CGI and computer generated ships that we've become so jaded to the fact that back in the 80s, 1982, 1983, when this movie was being made, they were using all models, and every movement of every model was basically determined by a motion control camera that repeated. They would program a movement into it, and they'd repeat it every single time for every single ship that they were trying to film and animate. So that to me is flipping astounding. I think that's just craftsmanship at its finest. And the people who pioneered these effects have launched filmmaking and just visual effects in general into like a new realm. And they deserved that. I think they got a special Oscar for it that year. Like, I don't think any Star Wars movie really won any Oscar other than like technical achievements and stuff like that. But they definitely earned their stripes on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. The practical effects in Star Wars are probably my favorite thing. I can't believe that I didn't add them into my top 10.
Just that going into like it kind of it's reminiscent of the Battle of Yavin at the end of A New Hope, where they go down into the sort of like the corridor, like ravine, I guess. Yeah. In where they're going through the canyon, I guess. Yeah, in the Death Star, they actually go inside the Death Star in Return of the Jedi. And that, like, there's so much movement and visual interest going by the camera that it's just amazing. And it's even more amazing when you realize that stuff's all practical.
Yeah.
They didn't, and
it looks so much more realistic than any of the CGI. Well, because it is realistic, but it felt like I was in space watching this huge ship get
And then you go inside. They go inside to the core of the Death Star, and you see this big generator, and you see them actually like shoot the final torpedoes into it, and you see it kind of like fall, and it like pops, sort of like a giant zit or something. It's just like all this fire just comes right out and goes into the corridors where basically the Millennium Falcon Lando is trying to race it out before the fire catches up with them, and so they basically outrun an explosion, which to me is amazing.
And I love Han Solo's love for the Millennium Falcon. He's like,
I got your word, not a scratch, right?
Not a scratch.
And that alien too, that's like co-piloting with he's like, what do you? Yeah,
I love Neon Numb.
Yeah,
I have his action figure. I have them all.
Yeah.
My number 5 is just the Force.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of it, and as mentioned in the first part, midichlorians, whatever. But I love that it's something that can be just kind of pulled from everywhere.
Yeah, I've heard that. Like, I've heard people talk about it as if it's like religion kind of distilled into its essentials, almost like a Jeet Kune Do of religion. Jeet Kune Do is Bruce Lee's martial arts form that's basically martial arts stripped of all of its like pageantry and beauty and all that. Just the essentials. And it's basically like a very Jeet Kune Do punk rock version of religion, where it's basically all that matters is good versus evil, and we are all way more, we have more potential than we think we do. I think that's a very appealing thing about the Force, is that it's within all of us. And that's why the midichlorians thing is such a travesty, because it's like, oh no, it's not in all of us. It's only in a few people.
Yeah. And I have a part about that. We're going to talk about Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about Force Awakens in a little bit. And I have a mention with the midichlorians thing, but I loved it more like, you can control things with your mind. And it's yoga. It's a space yoga, basically. But but I loved that, you could pull a ship out of the swamp. You could grab your lightsaber to murder that Wampa.
Can we go into my next one? Because this segues beautifully into it.
Yes, we can.
My next one, my number 3, I guess, is...
Oh, you're skipping?
I don't know. I think it's
we haven't done 4
one.
yet.
Maybe I went too fast.
4's the next one.
So this is my next one. Yoda's pep talk to Luke in The Empire Strikes Back is probably one of my all-time favorite scenes in like cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Just the idea, like Yoda explains, like, so Yoda and Luke are training right now, or at this point, and Luke is basically doing like a handstand. He's controlling rocks with his mind. He's moving rocks, stacking them up. He's having like R2-D2 levitate, and
and Yoda's sitting on his foot.
Yoda's sitting on his foot and telling him that you're going to be seeing things. You're going to be seeing things from the past, and you're going to be seeing things from the future. And don't be afraid of the future. It's just things that things like images of your friends, images of people long gone. Things like that, and just let it pass through you. And Luke sees basically what's happening to his friends on Bespin at that time. They're being tortured by the Empire, and so he freaks out, and he all these external forces sort of enter his brain. He's thinking about like his ship that's sinking. He's thinking about like his Darth Vader. He's thinking about the Empire. He's thinking about his friends. All this stuff is just way too much to bear, so he breaks concentration and falls. And so Yoda gives him this freaking pep talk that is just inspiring. It's so inspiring to me. He just says,
"You can do it."
Yeah, well,
and that's it.
Well, he says,
"Do it, you can."
He says,
"Big boy."
He says, "We're never gonna get it out. I'm never gonna get that."
He's never gonna get it out.
He's like, and so he tries to get it out. He goes.
I'm just thinking of Yoda's dick.
Oh, jeez.
Lift as you will. Sorry, back to pep talk.
Oh, I'm getting emotional here and talking about Yoda's dick.
Picklebacks are finally kicking in.
Okay, so
Get emotional.
Luke attempts to get his ship out, and he can't because he just thinks it's too big. And he can't do it, and he sits down exasperated. Steve, relax. And he says, "Well, look at me. Don't judge me by size, do you?" And he's like, Yoda kind of breaks down the Force in a very beautiful way. He's just like, it surrounds us and it penetrates us. It's between me, you, the rock. It's even between the ship and the land, and luminous beings we are, we're not this crude matter. And like Yoda grabs Luke by the arm, and it's just like he's saying, like, you're not just this matter, this like matter of muscle. You're a luminous being. You have all this potential that's untapped. And and who can't relate to like just being done with everything and just being like just saying fuck it, But no, you can do it. You can do anything. And he says, even before Luke tries to get the ship out, he says, "All right, I'll give it a try." And the Yoda says, "Try not, do or do not. There is no try," which is a beautiful thing, I think that that's just so inspiring. And the fact that if you think about how many collaborators were involved in bringing this scene to life, there's, you've got Frank Oz, who's the puppeteer. You've got Irvin Kershner, who's the director. You have Mark Hamill, who's acting opposite this puppeteer. You've got all the artists who sculpted and crafted this beautiful puppet of Yoda. And you have like, the visual effects artists who animate the ship coming out. You have John Williams, who has this like all these amazing score that propels the scene forward. And you think about things like this, and if any one of those collaborators drops the ball, the scene fails. It doesn't work. But when all of those collaborators are firing on all cylinders and working together to make something that elicits an emotional response from you, that's magic, I think.
I would have absolutely loved to have been on set for this.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure almost every single scene that they filmed, everyone was going insane after they got the right take. Like, in a good way. Everyone, I would have had goosebumps and cold chills after literally every scene. Even
the scene where Luke is trying to get the ship out using the Force, and we cut to just a shot of Yoda, like with his wide eyes, and you can tell, like, okay, that's a puppet, but that puppet wants this to work. He's pulling for Luke. Mark Hamill is acting opposite this puppet and making us believe that he's real.
Yeah, that was a great thing incredible. Too in all the movies.
Sorry.
I never and still don't. I don't look at any of the characters in the movie and be like, "That's a puppet."
Right.
And they did a great job of that.
It's a lifeless puppet brought to life by many people in a collaborative effort to create magic.
There's a great video I just watched the other day on StarWars.com, and it was showing the canteen, not the cantina scene, the Jabba's palace scene, and all of the puppeteers that had to do Jabba, Crumb, the musicians, everybody, and how they had them all standing under a stage, and there was 2 or 3 people. One person's just Jabba's tail, another person's like his hands and stuff. It was incredible. My number 4, which we'll move on to.
Sorry if I went on.
No,
Sorry.
It was a beautiful moment. Beautiful moment.
I've had a
lightsabers.
Few. Lightsabers. Yeah.
Lightsabers as a weapon. When I was watching, I started watching Star Wars probably 96, 97. And when I really got into it, got all the action figures. I already said that. And then when the new movies started coming out, I worked at a video store, and I had a lot of downtime. So I started, this is when I first started writing ever. And I started working on a couple scripts, like script ideas of things that I wanted to do. And Star Wars was so fresh in my brain that I was like, I need to come up with a weapon as cool as the lightsaber. And I never could and never did. So I worked in a video rental store, and the new movies had just started coming out, and we were getting ready for
the prequels,
episode 3.
Okay, yeah.
And I had started writing the first thing I had ever started writing was a script, and I was trying to come up with a cool weapon to use. And I just kept thinking of lightsabers because all I did was watch Star Wars movies at work and get ready for the new movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I could never come up with anything as cool as the lightsaber. And I just thought it was like the greatest thing. You're just holding onto this small thing. It's just strapped to your belt. But then, you know, it's you built it. It's shaped how you want it to. It's the crystal that you want to use. It shows if you're a good guy, if you're a bad guy. And
well, see, that's all stuff coming from the expanded universe, right? That's not really in the movies, is it? But I mean, that's great because you've you know, there's something about Star Wars that makes you want to dig deeper.
Yeah, so Luke gets his hand cut off in Empire, and he loses his blue lightsaber that was Anakin's with his hand, and then he comes in with a new lightsaber that's green for Return. And Vader says, "I see you've constructed a new lightsaber." I would have loved to see.
There's a deleted scene. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen the deleted scene of him making it.
Yeah, I mean, there's been other interpretations of it that I think are more elegant. Basically, just from the Clone Wars, the Clone Wars cartoons, where you see like a lightsaber being, like a stone being selected and all that stuff, and people use the Force to bring it together, and I think that's really cool. But yeah, there is a deleted scene where it shows Luke kind of like screwing it on like it's a flashlight or something.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, it is a scene where he's about to he's hiding out in the in a cave on Tatooine, where he's constructing the new lightsaber, and R2's there, and he's about to send R2 on his way to go and talk to Jabba, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how I haven't seen that, but I think that's a great thing. That's all. That's what I was thinking of every time I saw it. I was like, I just want to see Luke picking out his crystal, picking out all this. Because if you follow all the movies, you kind of see that the up and coming Jedi are all blue, but then like the Jedi Masters are all green. So Yoda was green. Obi-Wan was blue in the first movie. And then he ended up having a green lightsaber, and that's just kind of how it worked. Like the Padawan apprentice has always been blue, and then Jedi Master's green. So when Luke finally had the green, then you know that his
skills are complete.
Yeah, he's a Jedi Master now, which is it's odd because looking at the first three movies, episode 1 through 3, you see that it's a long road between apprentice and master.
Yeah,
and Luke just kind of wung it a little bit with Yoda, but he was taught from the best, which makes sense.
True. My number 3, moving on, is I am your father.
Oh, shit. I totally didn't add that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I even think that's my number 2. I think we might have gone to me twice a couple times. So I'm at my number 2.
You only have 2 left?
I only have 1 left after this.
All right. So we'll do yours, then we'll skip to mine, and then we'll go back. Back to yours.
So I am your father. That is probably one of the most significant moments, if not the most significant moment in the original trilogy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of the most significant moments in the entire Star Wars.
Yeah, that's the story right there. That's the big thing. That's like the realization. There's so much going on. It's the realization that Obi-Wan kind of lied to him. Why did he do that? Why didn't he tell him? The idea that Luke might have some evil in him, you know? Also, like when I first saw that, I was we saw the scene earlier in the film where you see Vader's head from the back.
Yeah.
And you know that, there's a human underneath there. There's something underneath there. And I didn't know if it was human or if it was alien or what. So that was kind of confirmation. I am your father. Oh, that's a human.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. That's a human. But yeah, like that was astounding. Not just that, but I mean, like it was the way that he cut his son's hand off. So brutal. Like that alone, that his hand being cut off, like I don't think I'd ever seen somebody's hand get cut off in a movie before when I first saw that when I was that young.
I probably hadn't either.
That was pretty scarring. I thought that was intense, very intense.
Another moment with that is with Obi-Wan not ever telling Luke this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, yeah, it makes sense that Anakin was dead and the Vader persona killed him, but still, that's not a
he's
cool
like,
thing.
it's from a certain point of view. Kind of a cop-out. I don't know. Maybe that's...
But I get it. Like, if they told Luke right away that, oh, Vader's your dad, he would have... It was way too early before his training for him to, like, accept that without trying to join his father's side.
It also informs... Because Luke breaks his training and decides to go and help his friends against the urging of Kenobi and Yoda to stay. They're urging him to stay. No. You have to stay and complete your training. Your friends, if you honor what they fight for, then you should let them go. Because, this is only going to be bad. So I think that if Yoda and Obi-Wan had their druthers, they would have been fine with Luke just being ignorant to the fact that that's his father.
Mm-hmm.
So, they were protecting him.
Yeah, and not until I got a little older did I realize that there was a struggle between Luke being good and bad. I never really picked up on that. I always thought Luke's the hero in this, because I was probably 7 when I first started watching it, and I was like, oh, Luke's the good guy.
Yeah, I mean,
and I never thought for a second that Luke was ever going to go bad, but I knew the dark side was trying to, make him join.
Right.
But I never for 1 second ever thought that Luke was going to join. But now watching them, I can see it like, oh, like Luke shouldn't have left his training. He should have stayed.
He should have, and he's not ready for that. He's way too young to be dealing with those things. And
because he's only like 19 or 20.
Something like that. He's old enough to be serving in the war, to be fighting in the rebellion and all that stuff. But like they kind of ended on a weird note where, Luke has just gotten the shit kicked out of him by Vader, like just in a really, really brutal fight.
In Empire?
Yeah, in Empire. Yeah. And then he cherry dropped all the way down into this abyss that has spat him out in this, with these like weird and upside down antenna things.
Yeah, it's like a satellite for the bottom of the ship
that he hangs off of, and he eventually gets picked up by Lando and Leia, and then it shows him sitting there, and there's this weird moment where he's kind of communing with Vader. Vader's like speaking to him. He's saying like, "Son, come with me." And then all that Luke can say is, "Ben, why didn't you tell me?"
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me?
And
that's all. That's how we leave it.
Yeah.
We're like, wow, he could join the dark side.
Mm-hmm. My one part of this, my one gripe with this trilogy is, after watching the new trilogy, the one gripe I have is that Leia says that she remembers her mother. And Leia's mother dies giving birth.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she's talking about Bail Organa's wife.
No, I think that she's talking about through the Force, she remembers images of her mother. She doesn't remember anything.
I'll accept that completely.
She seems, sad. I think it's through the Force, because I think Leia, the Force is within Leia as well.
Yeah, I'll allow that, and I'll completely accept it. So that was your...
But in the end, I don't think George Lucas knew what he was talking about or what he was doing.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, and we've discussed 1 through 3, and
already, yeah.
So that was your number 2. So I'm gonna go back to 3
ahead.
if that's okay.
Go ahead, do your thing.
So my number 3 is the Sarlacc pit scene. This was I loved this so much.
Bum. Yeah.
The one thing that I never had, the one ship that I always wanted that I never had in all my action figures, was the Jabba skiff. The ship that everyone was on when they were going to throw Luke into the Sarlacc pit, where you would be digested for 1,000 years. I love that scene so much. I didn't like that Boba Fett was killed. Like watching it now, I don't like that Boba Fett was killed so easily. But watching it as a kid, I was glad that Boba Fett was like taken out.
Well, because he didn't have the weight to him that everybody attached.
Well, I was happy because I loved Han, and I was mad that someone would do that to a person, because I didn't think of it. I didn't really know bounty hunters, and I didn't know what the whole thing was like.
Right.
Bounty hunters, the only time I'd ever heard of those was Star Wars. Dog the Bounty Hunter didn't exist. There wasn't anything like that. So, his death was fine to me. But now watching through, and as I get older, I'm like, there's a lot they could have done with Boba Fett, which I think they're going to do in future films that they could have done. It would have been amazing. And I would love to seen everything, everything that he'd done. And in the, expanded universe, all the comic books and stuff, he's been in those. Right. But Sarlacc pit, loved it. Yeah. Han was blind and was shooting at the Sarlacc's tentacles to save Lando. Yeah. And Lando was like just freaking out.
Just a little higher. Yeah. Just a little higher.
And he didn't want it to happen at all. The main character who was pushing Luke off the edge, I have his action figure. He actually played drums for the band for Jabba's
in the
palace.
Special editions. Yeah, in the special editions he did. They inserted him in the special editions.
Oh yeah. He's just playing on like cymbals and stuff to the side.
Stupid. Yes.
But Sarlacc pit was my favorite, and I reenacted that so many times with my toys.
Nice.
I didn't have sand. I didn't have a Sarlacc pit, but I was like, all right, you're in. You're walking off the end of the bucket that I owned, or that I had all my action figures in, and just kind of nudged the people off the edge. Sarlacc pit was my favorite scene from Return.
Nice.
Another thing that has to do with this, one of my absolute favorite things from all the Star Wars films are the bounty hunters.
Oh yeah,
I thought they looked the coolest. IG-88, Bosk, Dengar.
Which
Boba
one's
Fett.
which one's like the lizard looking one?
Bosk.
What does he say? Does he say something like that?
I don't know what he says.
He's like, bounty hunters. We don't need their scum. Yes, sir.
He's so great, and they have him in the comic book,
Captain Nita,
doing his things. But I thought the bounty hunters were great, and I loved in the Shadows of the Empire video game for N64. There was a level where you're fighting IG-88, and it's the first time you really see him do anything, because he didn't do anything in 4, 5, and 6.
I think he was
stood there.
I think he was made of leftover set dressing or props,
I
or
think
something like that.
Yeah, I heard that too. But I thought he was badass. And then you fight him in like a kind of like a garbage train. It's like a train. I believe it's going to an incinerator, and it's like a planet that has a bunch of just junk on it. It's like a incinerator junk nonsense. But you get to fight him. But I love the bounty hunters. I think they're great.
Mm-hmm.
None of them really did anything except Boba Fett. And then Boba Fett kind of had the worst death in the Star Wars films.
I know.
For like a main character. For a character that you start to love.
Well, I've heard that he didn't die.
I heard that as well.
I mean,
but that's old EU, so it's not canon anymore.
All right, great, okay.
I hope that he escaped, and that in Force Awakens we learn about this. But all right, let's move on. Your number one favorite thing from the original trilogy. Okay,
another moment from Empire. The whole time throughout Empire, if you factor in the novel Splinter of a Mind's Eye, yes, Luke and Vader have met, but since that's not in the movies, I'm not counting that, and I didn't see that like when I initially saw the movie. I had no idea. So to me, the moment that Luke and Vader finally meet on Bespin and start their duel, that's the first time that they've faced each other ever.
Mm-hmm.
And Luke knows of him. Vader knows him from the Death Star battle in the first movie, and like the whole, there's so much tension because Luke knows he shouldn't be there. We know that he shouldn't be there, that something horrible is going to happen, and he's going to have to face Vader. And so there's a moment where he walks into that dark blue and orange lit room, like the carbon freezing room in Bespin, and he sees Darth Vader for the first time in the darkness, his silhouette, and you just hear the breathing. There's no music at all. It's just the breathing of Darth Vader, and he says, "The Force is with you, young Skywalker, but you are not a Jedi yet." It's intense.
It's a great scene.
And then it's just like, okay, well, I guess we're just gonna fight. And it's not the elegant fighting of the prequels. It's not like the Jedi in their heyday, like, fighting. It's basically, down and dirty fighting. Let's just kill each other.
And Luke was never trained to be an eloquent
right. And I feel like Vader probably, I mean, the truth,
elegant
the truth of the matter is that like this was made before that style of fighting was cinematically in vogue, and so they weren't even thinking about that. But I feel like this packs so much more weight and meaning, because there's depth to what's going on in the scene rather than just, hey, let's show some cool moves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the prequels are the fighting in the prequels is great. Whatever, fine.
But what I meant was, Luke was trained as a Jedi, and basically that he needed to stop Vader. Right. So it wasn't like lightsaber duels weren't like an artistic
and it was
thing.
More of a psychological thing. This battle was more of just like he's trying to wear this boy down, and this boy is so far in over his head that he doesn't know, he has no idea what he's getting himself into.
Yeah.
And that's probably, to me, the most intense moment of the entire trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love these movies. I think they're a great story, and the more that I watch them, the more I absolutely love them. But my favorite thing from all of it, favorite scene, weapon, ship, toy, character, is Han Solo. I think Han Solo is the coolest character any movie has ever made. Just like the way that he's like, him and Leia. I love you. I know.
That scene is awesome, because then they take him away and they like lower him down in the pit, and he just like looks at her. He's so like vulnerable in that moment.
Yeah. He's the coolest dude, and I don't know. I just loved Han Solo. In one of my favorite movies, 500 Days of Summer, there's an amazing scene where Joseph Gordon-Levitt's excited because he just had sex with Zoe's character.
He's having a great day.
Yeah. He just banged Summer. And he looks into a car window, and it's Han Solo winking back at him. I think it's amazing. Han Solo is probably my favorite character from any movie ever. He's so cool. He has all the right things to say. He's quick-witted, but the guy loves love.
Oh, yeah.
As much as he says he hates it, he loves love. Yeah. And I love that.
Oh, okay. So, we are actually taping this episode right after the last trailer for Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, has just been released. And so everybody, the community, the Star Wars community is ripe with theories and ideas about what this movie is going to be about. And we are actually... We are, I think, at the time of the release, the movie.
This will be December 15th.
So the movie is only a few days away.
I have my tickets for the 17th.
I have my tickets for the 18th at 7 p.m. at the Chinese Theater. I
got the Cinemark 8. Reclining leather seats, $6.
I cannot wait for this movie. This is going to be so much fun.
So we have our predictions for,
well,
not necessarily predictions, more so what we think might happen, but kind of what we would like to happen as well.
So let me just be the first to say, spoiler alert with a question mark.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert on all of this.
Because we don't know
on 4, 5, and 6. I mean,
if you don't, okay, well,
spoiler alert on what we've already said.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, maybe. on the trailer or the fucking
if you
movie?
haven't seen the trailer and if you're keeping all of this hush-hush, just listen to this part
shots
after.
Yeah. So, anyway, my idea of what the new Star Wars movie is going to be about is the search for Luke Skywalker. We got to find Luke because he's the last known Jedi Master, the last living Jedi Master, right?
Yeah.
He's the last living Jedi Master. So I think these people...
Yeah, in the movies.
Okay, in these movies, he is. And I think that these new characters have sensed an uprising of the dark side. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily the Sith, because we have the Knights of Ren, who are now essentially like the, harbingers of the dark side of the Force. Mm-hmm. And so the dark side has a new uprising, so we need help from a Jedi Master. So where is Luke? We haven't seen Luke Skywalker in any of the promotional material for this film. We've seen maybe a shot of him putting his mechanical hand on R2, and we've heard dialogue taken from like Return of the Jedi.
Well, no, because he says, my father had it, I have it, my sister has it, and you have it.
No, that's taken from him. He says, you have that power too, to Leia.
I believe
I'm right. I know I'm right.
He says, my sister has it, and I believe you have it too. He says that to Leia?
No, they've re-edited it to make it sound like it's appropriate for the trailer.
So you don't think that he's actually saying this
no,
to
because
a new person?
because earlier he says, I have a power, I have it, and my father has it, and
my sister
has it, and he
you
goes,
have it.
And she goes, wait, you have a power? What are you talking about? He's like, yes, and he's like, I have it, and you have that power too, or something like that, and yeah, he says that earlier in the conversation. Then he goes, and my sister has it. It's you, Leia, or something. So that all of that little bit has been Frankenbited from the Return of the Jedi.
I do want to say I don't agree with this.
Okay,
but
well,
I will.
I know I'm right, so
Tom's
no
right,
big deal.
But I don't
cool.
agree.
If you go and watch that scene, every line of dialogue is taken directly from it.
But I don't think they would cut a new trailer for this movie for him to say that, and then nothing happens with that, because people are going to be like, didn't they say that somebody else has it? Like, where's the scene where Luke says that his father has it, he has it, his sister has it, you have it?
They're just using... They're quoting Return of the Jedi to imply that somebody else has it.
Okay.
And that's fine.
All right.
They can do that. But so anyway, so like I have a theory that there's a search for Luke Skywalker, and I also think that Ren, or no, what's her name?
Ren.
No, Kylo Ren, Rey. I have a theory that Rey, the female character in the movie, and Kylo Ren are both brother and sister.
Who are their parents?
Han and Leia.
Okay.
They're twins, I think.
All right.
And Kylo Ren wants to live up to his grandfather's plan.
And that's what you think of for the entire Force Awakens? Yeah,
I think. Those are my predictions. I think that Kylo Ren and Rey are brother and sister, and Kylo Ren wants to fulfill Darth Vader's plan, I guess. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Right.
I want to get into my predictions with this, and I feel a lot of the same things as you said.
Okay.
I feel like the Emperor is still alive from Return of the Jedi, and that he has brought Kylo Ren to Geonosia to get Anakin Skywalker's hand from his battle with Count Dooku and Yoda from Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, where Anakin first loses his hand.
Yep.
Because as pretty much everyone knows, spoiler alert, blah, blah, Ren is obsessed with Vader, and he essentially wants to bring Vader back, and I think he's going to in episode 8. So he would need something of Vader's in order to bring him back to life. And the only thing that still exists besides his suit, because everything else was burned, is the hand that was cut off from episode 2 by Count Dooku when he was still Anakin. So I think that Ren and Rey are brother and sister.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes.
You agree with me.
And I believe that they are Leia's kids, but I don't think that Han and Leia are still together.
I think that, I agree. I don't think they're still together, but I think that they might have had kids together.
Okay. I don't think that they're both the parents. I think that it's only Leia.
Okay.
With Poe Dameron,
Mm-hmm. Dameron.
Poe Dameron, that one.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be the new Han Solo. I think he's going to be the cool, badass character that's going to take the new trilogy into bigger heights. I think he's going to be like the cool guy. Honestly, I think him and Rey are going to have a thing. It's going to be a Han and Leia kind of thing, but I do think that. Finn is going to be Lando Calrissian's son. I just
really? Is the universe really that small?
Well, it's not the universe. We're following one family's story.
I know, but
you know that there's other people in the galaxy that are fighting similar things. There's Empire in all different parts of the galaxy. There isn't just one
I know.
character. So I think he's Lando's son because John Boyega is using an American accent and he's not using a British accent.
That's true, but I honestly think it's just a chaotic thing where he just happens upon. He's kind of like I think he's sort of the new Luke Skywalker because he's lost.
Mm-hmm.
All the trailers and promotional material points to him being lost and just like, deserting the Empire, etc. And finding there's a scene where Rey offers her hand to him and he joins up. He literally joins up with her and her cause. And so I think he has an altogether new cause that he's fighting for because everything that he had was lost or something like that. That's his dialogue in the new trailer kind of implies that.
Yeah. And so I either think that, but I've been watching Star Wars Rebels, and there's a character that Ezra is friends with in, I believe, episode 5 or episode 6 of season 1. And he meets him in Star Wars, meets him in Stormtrooper Academy kind of, and he's a black character. I can't think of his name. I just watched the episode today, but I think that Finn could also be this character if they want to tie Rebels in with the new movie, which would be amazing. So I think Kylo Ren is trying to bring Vader back. And I've heard that Hayden Christensen is coming back for episode 8. So with the whole hand thing, that's totally plausible. And with Luke, I think there's two things that might happen here. I think that with Kylo Ren, this is basing everything off of my original idea. I think with Kylo Ren finding Vader's hand in Genosha, Anakin's hand in Genosha, he's also looking for Luke's hand in Bespin to clone Luke as well, because they are the last most powerful Jedis. And I think that in this movie, we're going to see a dark and light Luke, and that one could potentially be a clone that was a test for Kylo Ren making a clone of Vader.
Okay.
And that's a completely crazy idea.
I mean, I see what you're saying. However, if you're right and they're trying to clone Vader, I think that's fucking stupid.
Well, it'll tie in both of the trilogies because there's Camino. Camino already exists, a place where you can clone people.
You don't need to.
If you're obsessed with something, like if you were obsessed with me and I died, you would want to clone me.
Maybe.
See? And you would say, all right, well, if I want to clone someone, where am I going to go?
But does that,
Camino, because I watched the first 3 movies.
But does that make an interesting story? No.
I feel
I
like
think it's a
there's ways
stupid
that they
story.
could make it interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
They
but
could
I
really
feel
make
like
any storyline interesting.
If they're doing that, they better get prepared for a lot of fan backlash because that's fucking dumb.
I honestly think no matter what they're going to do, there's going to be fan backlash with with 50% of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I mean, that's just how it is. You can't please everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like whatever. Okay.
One last thing that I want to say about all of this leading into Force Awakens from episode 1 till episode 6 leading into 7 is midichlorians. So everyone has an issue with this being like kind of a blood cell that you're born with if you're going to be a Jedi. The Force is midichlorians in your body. But they don't talk about that in 4, 5, and 6. That's just a 1, 2, and 3 thing. So what I think this whole midichlorians thing was, in episode 1 through 3, at that point, a Jedi was born with midichlorians. And once Order 66 was executed and all the Jedi were killed, all of their spirits became the Force. And there were so many Jedi that it just kind of became like nature almost. Just everyone could feel it, but only a few people actually accepted it. Which is why
there's no mention of.
Yeah, that's why there's no mention of midichlorians, even though the timeline doesn't, match
true.
up.
But I mean, like, if
it's a good way to write off midichlorians because J.J. Abrams says that they're not part of the new films,
and that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. It's a dumb thing that Lucas did. I mean,
but they don't. It's even
Lucas's story, so whatever he did wasn't necessarily dumb. But
yeah,
as a fan, I don't think that it's a good way to tell it all.
Yeah, I think a lot of people say like, yeah, George Lucas, it's his story and everything, so he can do whatever he wants. And I say, it's not his story. He didn't make Star Wars what it was. The fans did.
Yeah.
I think
that's exactly what it is. I don't think he expected it to be as big as it was going to be.
Right.
And fans made it more of a story than Lucas ever.
Yeah,
could've.
I mean, yeah, he birthed the idea.
Mm-hmm.
However, I feel like in order to create a phenomenon like Star Wars, it's not simply the ideas of a creator, it's the ideas of a community of people, I think.
I absolutely agree.
But okay. Cool.
Well, I've absolutely enjoyed this because I
Me
love Star Wars
too.
so much, and I'm so excited to go see these movies.
Me too.
I've got both of my tickets set, and I've got 5 hours allotted to Star Wars starting the 17th of December.
In a few episodes from now, we can probably tell you our thoughts on the new Star Wars movie if we want to. Maybe.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm down for a December 30th Star Wars follow-up to see how right I was and how wrong you were.
Okay, cool. I can guarantee
that was a
you.
dick thing to say.
I can guarantee you that those Luke Skywalker lines from the trailer are not in the new movie.
All right. I will buy you one whole drink if I'm wrong, and you buy me one whole drink if I'm wrong.
Okay, good, because I'll be thirsty then.
Wait, whoever's right buys the other one a drink. No, whoever's wrong buys the other one a drink. All right. Thank you for listening for this episode of Have a Drink with Me.
I love you.
Tom loves you.
I love you, Dylan.
Tom loves me.
Yeah. You're good. 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 Yeah. You're good.